Good afternoon. There are thousands of foreign companies operating here in China. Many of them are household names back home. And they have enjoyed a lot of success here, making products in China and also selling them in China. But lately they're having a lot of big problems on the second part. Now Chinese companies are manufacturing for the local markets, the Chinese domestic market, and they're pushing out products made by foreign brands because of lower costs. But those companies are staying here, and even though they're losing market share in China. And the reason is that they're using their Chinese manufacturing to export to global markets. They're not as competitive anymore in China against Chinese companies, but their China-made products are high quality and low cost and can be exported to their customers around the world from their factories here. Nissan, the Japanese car maker, is doing exactly that. Last year, Nissan managers were in Japan, and they were looking at a map of the world. And they put the world's countries into 4 categories and colored them on the map. Red countries have a ban on the import of Chinese cars. Yellow was for countries that probably would ban Chinese-made vehicles in the future. Gray were the countries that might do so, but probably not. Gray allows Chinese-made cars now and probably will forever. And green was for the countries with no restrictions now and no likelihood of banning Chinese-made cars in the future. Their objective was to learn what the international market is for Nissan's cars that they build in China. Nissan is getting killed here in China for cars that they're building in China for customers in China. But what about the rest of the world? How big is the global market for Nissan's cars built here and which can be exported? They concluded that 80% of the market was green and likely to stay green. So Nissan decided to go ahead and use China as a manufacturer for their exports to that 80% of the world market. Beginning next year, Nissan will build cars in China for export, including electric and hybrid vehicles. And Nissan isn't alone. Ford and Tesla and BYD are doing the same. And we already know that Volvo is doing so for sales in the United States. We realize that most of the focus lately is on electric vehicles, and EVs get all the headlines. 1/3 of the Chinese market is electric vehicles. But that leaves 2/3 that is not electric vehicles. China is the biggest car market in the world, and 2/3 of the vehicles sold are regular internal combustion engine cars. China dominates here in cost and value also. It's not just Tesla that knows they need to be here for electric vehicles. It's regular car makers for regular cars also. The supply chains, the engineering talent, the logistics, it's here in electric vehicles and also for everything else that uses a regular engine. So the world is being carved up now, and it's being driven by politicians in North America and in Europe, but also in every other capital across the world. And now we're seeing something else, which is that the world is also being divided up by companies. Nissan here is simply following the path of least resistance, but doing so country by country. Industry insiders are realizing what this is going to mean and the impact it will all have on consumers. The red part of the map, the United States, Canada, and Western Europe, let's say, the cars there are going to be more expensive, and the automotive technology that is available on the market there will be at a premium cost. And the other block, everywhere else, where cars are low cost, but also high tech. It's a weird world that's coming, where the most advanced vehicles, technology-wise, will also be the least expensive. But in the North American and Western European markets, our consumers won't have access to them. So those cost savings and the superior technological advantages will be enjoyed by customers everywhere else. And going back to Nissan and Volvo and Toyota and Tesla and Ford, ironically Ford, they're hoping to make money by playing on both sides of the fence. They charge high prices for lower quality cars built in and built for the North American and European markets. And they partner with Chinese factories, export cars out of here, and enjoy big profits in the rest of the world. Have a nice weekend. Be good.
Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Love your neighbor as yourself.